The Pentagon saying a Chinese surveillance spy balloon is believed to be flying over parts of the continental U.S. for the last several days.
On Thursday, Pentagon officials announced they're tracking the balloon and that at this time, quote, it does not present a military or physical threat to people on the ground, and that it was not obstructing commercial air traffic. Defense and military officials warned President Biden against shooting down the surveillance balloon over the safety risk to people on the ground.
This announcement comes just a week before Secretary of State Antony Blinken is expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. David J. is on the ground in Billings, Montana, where their surveillance balloon is visible, with more on the developing story.
That thing just morphed into two circles.
It's a sight that had people talking all across southern Montana. A Chinese spy balloon clearly visible from the streets of Billings.
Okay, that thing is not the moon. The moon is right there.
But we're now learning this strange sight in the sky has been on the government's radar for days. At a Pentagon briefing Thursday, a senior defense official said, "We have been tracking it for some time," saying it entered the continental U.S. airspace a couple of days ago. When asked whether the balloon was trying to collect intelligence on Montana's missile silos, a senior defense official said, "Clearly, the intent of this balloon is for surveillance, and so the current flight path does carry it over a number of sensitive sites. We know exactly where this balloon is, exactly what it is passing over." The Department of Defense does not believe the surveillance led to any taking of sensitive information and says other instances of the activity like this have been observed in previous years. But that does little to assure many here in Montana.
This is a perfect example of why we need Senate Bill 203. This really shows that there are nations out there that want to spy on us.
Miles City State Senator Ken Bogner is sponsoring legislation aimed at keeping adversarial nations from acquiring land and critical infrastructure in Montana. A bill he says he was motivated to sponsor because of land recently purchased by a Chinese company just 15 miles from the Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota.
The ag production land hits the issues of food security. We help feed the entire nation. And the critical infrastructure is things like oil refineries, telecommunication facilities.
As for the balloon, the Department of Defense says it did consider shooting it down, but a senior official said it was large enough to cause damage from the debris field if we downed it over an area. We just couldn't buy down the risk enough to feel comfortable recommending shooting it down. That leaves some Montanans wondering if and when it will return.
Chinese officials responding this morning and did not confirm or deny that the balloon belongs to them. For more on their response, let's go to correspondent Richard Kimber in Hong Kong. Richard, what has been the reaction from Chinese officials this morning?
Well, as you say, it's more what they didn't say than what they did say that's sparking interest at the moment. The Beijing Foreign Ministry said that it is still verifying the situation. In the meantime, it said that it would like to emphasize that until the facts are clarified, that speculation and hype are not going to be useful in resolving this issue. It further said that China has no intention of violating the territory or airspace of any country, and that the government hopes to handle this matter with the United States calmly. What's interesting here is that in recent months, the Beijing Foreign Ministry has become increasingly vociferous and belligerent to combat any allegations from overseas about malpractice in China, particularly from the United States. And the fact that they have not done so this time certainly suggests that there may be more to come from Beijing with regards to this issue, and that it's far from over. The fact that they're at the moment saying they're still verifying this situation lends some credence, analysts say, to the fact this may have some connection to China, despite the fact that at the moment there's been no official confirmation or denial.
So U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to visit China on Sunday. What does this situation mean for that visit? Is it still going forward?
Well, China has said that it has no comment on the potential visit of Secretary of State Blinken to China. That's been a common mantra over the last few days whenever there's been questions raised about that. That's usually an indication that such a visit will be taking place, but the exact timing of that is unclear. But this certainly throws a diplomatic spanner in the works for what was being billed as an opportunity to continue to build bridges between the US and China after President Xi Jinping and President Biden both said that they were effectively committed to improving relations back at the G G20 in this part of the world when it was held in Indonesia. This, though, again, throwing a thorn in the works, really, particularly coming just days after China had already vociferously opposed the US expanding its military base presence in the Philippines. That's been seen by China as a preemptive and proactive effort by the United States to try and up the ante with regards to regional tensions here. But there's still a laundry list of things that need to be discussed between Secretary of State Blinken and President Xi Jinping, whether it's Taiwan, whether it's trade issues, whether it's human rights issues in the northwestern province of Xinjiang in China. All of these things really have still yet to be resolved, and the fact that there's now a balloon in the mix is just adding to complications about what might transpire should that meeting go ahead as we expect it to at some point next week.
All right, Richard Kimber live in Hong Kong for us. Thank you.